everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Violeta. I am Sofia. I work in the technology engineering specialist team focusing on AI, and I'll guide you through the OCI AI services today. So first of all, I'm just going to quickly share my screen and make sure we're all on the same page and all understand what AI is. So I'm sure most of you we've seen kind of already have an understanding of this, so I'll go over it quickly. Artificial intelligence is a machine's ability to perform cognitive functions that we usually associate with human beings. Within AI, we have machine learning, which is a form of artificial intelligence that's based on algorithms that are trained on data and can detect patterns and learn how to make predictions and recommendations on those patterns, rather than by receiving explicit instructions. These algorithms can adapt to new data and experiences and improve over time. And within those, we have more in-depth algorithms called deep learning that can process a wider range of data sources like images and mimic the ways that neurons interact within the human brain to process the data and learn from it. With all of this, we have a subset that is called generative AI. And the generative AI is the ability of a computer program to create original variations of content, such as images, music, video, speech, and text. And it can also analyze and improve with existing content and prompts inserted by human beings. So, we've seen that AI is stands out in many ways and has a lot of capabilities, but it still lacks in some ways where the human brain is still dominant. So for this, we have in Oracle developed a broad portfolio that enables enterprise-wide integration of AI. And by embedding AI throughout the whole stack of technology, from the infrastructure that businesses run on through to the applications for every line of business, like finance, supply chain, and HR, Oracle is helping organizations use AI to improve performance, save time, energy, and resources. And today we will zoom into these AI services that are Oracle Digital Assistant, Generative AI Speech, and so on, to also see how they can be integrated with low-code platforms that John will show you afterwards. So we'll start with the fact that Oracle has 6 AI services that all come with advanced pre-trained models that you can use seamlessly, and in which developers can custom train as well models, fine-tune, and integrate with various other applications and services to enhance these services with AI capabilities. The AI services include the recently released OCI Generative AI service, as well as OCI Digital Assistant, Language, Speech, Vision, and Document Understanding. So Oracle Digital Assistant is a conversational experience for employees and customers through chat, text, and so on. And I'll go over all of them as following. So OCI Generative AI, as I explained, has just recently been launched and is a fully managed service that provides a set of customizable large language models covering a wide range of use cases, from text generation, classification, meeting, summarization, and so on, and is released under the Chicago region. So if you have access to it, you can start using the playground to try out the models out of box, or create and host your own fine-tuned models based on your own data and dedicated AI clusters. With Digital Assistant is a consolidated no to low-code platform in which you can create conversational interfaces for business applications. So these chatbots can be easily integrated with apps like SMS, Slack, Messenger, WhatsApp, and more, or can be also accessed directly from the platform's own user interface and from your own platform with the little chat bubble. They use advanced natural language processing to simulate a human conversation, and they all come with pre-built skills and templates that can facilitate development. Following this, we have also OCI Vision, which is a service for performing deep learning-based image analysis. With this service, you can easily classify images and detect objects, faces, and text within these images. You can also customize the models to adapt to your own business needs. For instance, to detect visual anomalies in manufacturing, you can organize your media assets, you can tag items and images to count the products or shipments that you might need. And as you see, you also get a confidence score within the detection that will allow you to make your own personal analysis of these services. We also have OCI language, which is a service that performs advanced text analysis. It can process unstructured data for sentiment analysis, entity recognition. It can translate over 75 languages and classify the text within over 600 categories. The service also recognizes at least 18 entities, such as names, locations, products, quantities, organizations, and more. And it also uses natural language processing to identify the primary key phrases in the text and classify it within the categories previously mentioned. And for example, you can use OCI language to understand how customers perceive your brand, to address their frustrations and identify them before they become even more problematic, and to automate regulations, compliance, and more by identifying PII, so personal identifiable information, and redacting it before it gets published. With this service also goes hand in hand with OCI Speech, which applies advanced speech recognition technology to convert audio to text, and to analyze it, you can use OCI language. It currently supports English, Spanish, and Portuguese, as well as diarization, which means that you can partition the audio into different segments according to the identity of each speaker. And you can use the service to filter through transcripts and as well, join it with OCI language to detect and analyze the transcripted audio. And finally, we have document understanding that enables text, table, and key value extraction, as well as document classification for all sorts of documents. It can detect textual features from printed or handwritten, tiled or shaded, and even rotated documents. It can extract tables with or without borders and the text headers while maintaining the row column format information for each cell. And this service also identifies the key values for common invoices, receipts, passports, driver's license, with fields such as the name, invoice number, the dates, addresses, and more. And with OCI document understanding, you can classify your documents into different categories based on their visual appearance, the high-level features, the extracted keywords, and more. And these categories can include, for example, receipts, resumes, tax forms, checks, payslips, bank statements, passports, driver's license, and so on, as I mentioned before. And you can also create your own custom models for document classification and key value extraction. But once you have access to these services in OCI, how can you actually use them for your business needs? So Oracle's main goal is to democratize developers' access to the AI world without the need for deep technological knowledge of machine learning. So this is achieved through three different ways. You can use REST APIs that Oracle provides that enable seamless communication between applications, allowing them to, for example, use the AI capabilities in OCI Vision to detect visual anomalies in the manufacturing process. You can also use software development kits, so SDKs, for the more common programming languages like Java and Python that Oracle also offers. That, for example, you can use to enhance also the AI capabilities in the applications written within those languages, for instance, to call on the generative AI service and have a seamless response from it in your programming language. And finally, you can use OCI, the command line interface, which is a command line tool that facilitates the management of Oracle's cloud infrastructure resources. And it allows you to provision from instances and virtual machines to even interact with all of these AI services that I've mentioned for very many diverse use cases that now John will go more in depth and show you, demonstrate a couple of ways of how you can integrate these services with a very easy and seamless low-code platform. So on to you, John.
Thank you very much, Sofia. It was very, very interesting what you have described to us. And now we know a little bit better what are Oracle's AI services currently in OCI. So thank you very much, everyone. Good morning also from my side. Let me present myself. I'm John Karasoulos. I am a domain specialist at Oracle, mainly around the application development side of things. And today I'm going to describe to you how you can easily, using a low-code approach and Oracle's Visual Builder platform, to create a web and a mobile application by leveraging and using different AI services. And in our example that I'm going to demo today, we are going to use Oracle OCI Document Understanding Service. During this session, I'm going to, of course, to talk about how you can use Visual Builder and what are the steps to follow in order to develop such application. I'm going to code, of course, by demonstrating how to do so. And if you have any questions at any point of time, you have a little Q&A panel in the Zoom that you can post your questions there, and we will try to take some questions towards the end if the time allows it. Oracle Visual Builder. This is our main low-code development platform that I'm going to use today. So Oracle Visual Builder is a cloud platform that allows you to rapidly create and host enterprise applications using a visual development environment. It is both a development environment and a cloud-managed hosted service that allows you to host your application and provide your customers with a platform that they can access in order to work with your application. So the main point of Visual Builder is to make developer more productive. And the way is by giving to the developer a visual interface to do the UI development. But we are also giving you a visual approach to also create your business logic. So, I mean, the code that supports the business needs that goes into your application. So we make it very easy for you to interact also with any REST backend service. Again, this is done through dialogues, wizards that are helping you to define the connections, security to the REST interfaces, and getting the data out of the services or even getting the data into it. So we also make it very easy in a very declarative way to create your own data objects, tables in the databases, relationship between these objects, and store in a very secure way your application data. So the data for the application that you are developing is going to come from REST APIs, that is for sure. And it can be any REST API. Inside Visual Builder, we also include a service catalog that gives you access to all of the REST services that are exposed by the Oracle Fusion applications. We are also providing a service catalog that maps to Oracle Integration Cloud, another important cloud service that will allow you to create connections to multiple set of backends. Now, beyond that, you can use any open API or Swagger-based specification for REST services. We know how to pass a specification and create the REST endpoints that map to these operations. And OpenAPI and Swagger are again the industry standards, and we're using to define the REST APIs and what we can do with them. We also support easy backend switching. I mean, when you're developing, it's very likely that you are accessing a certain set of backend servers, for your development environment and, for instance, for your quality assurance environment. But when you move into the production environment, you most probably need to access the production servers. So you want to switch the servers that you want to use, and you have the full mechanism at your disposal of switching services through the lifecycle built inside Visual Builder that is called application profiles and backends. So are the components of Visual Builder platform. They are divided into major parts: development and the runtime. So the development, you have the visual development environment. Actually, it is your ID, your integrated development environment. And also you have a highly integration and connectivity with the modern DevOps approach, or Git repositories, CICD pipelines. You can make a code review, or you can even manage your project. There is now the runtime environment. So the runtime environment includes application hosting, web server, the data repository of your databases and even of your business object, and again, a REST proxy that will allow you to communicate with the outside world throughout your HTTPS protocol. This is a managed service from Oracle, which means that we take care of all aspects of housekeeping. We're keeping the software up to date. We're keeping it running. We're doing backups. We're doing upgrades to the infrastructure. We're doing upgrades to the software parts. So everything is managed by Oracle. You only control how many CPUs are allocated to the service to run your web server. But beyond that, we manage everything else for you. So let's give you a summary on what makes Visual Builder unique. So first of all, it is a technology stack, and it uses the de facto standard in the market today for developers. It is JavaScript, HTML, and REST all the way. That's the actual code that we are using, and there is no other proprietary languages inside Visual Builder. The second aspect is it's about the truly visual development. You can actually see the data that you are using. You can actually see the page. You can modify the location, the properties of the items inside the page, and you can test them on the fly. But it's not only on the UI that we are doing visual development. We are also doing exactly the same thing on the coding of your business logic. We are also a white box tool. We are helping you create code. This is the low-code approach. You are using wizards, you are using the platform to generate code. And it's important to understand that you can actually modify the code, and you can actually directly access and change the way that you want it. So it's important to understand that we are generating JavaScript, HTML code that makes sense. Following it is a support for more modern application development methodologies. So we're offering deep integration with Git repositories offered by the platform, or an external Git repositories that you may have. CICD tooling and everything that I'm describing is done throughout Visual Builder Studio, and it will help you to manage teamwork on enterprise level. Next is the native integration with Oracle Fusion applications. In order to develop and customize an existing page inside Fusion application, you will use Oracle Visual Builder. And it's also the tool that allows you to add new pages and new applications directly inside Fusion apps as a part of Fusion applications, not just an iframe that is inside your browser. Also, all the Redwood templates and components that are used by Fusion apps are built inside Visual Builder. All of this legacy enables you to develop applications with the same enterprise user experience that is delivered by Oracle Fusion apps. And finally, is the fact that it's a managed service. You do not need to install anything or manage anything. And this is actually why this is a tool that we are using to develop Oracle's enterprise applications. We are building Fusion apps with Visual Builder. And if we trust Visual Builder for our enterprise application, you can probably do the same for your own applications. So now, as we have seen what what is Visual Builder, our low-code development platform, and how it can be used? Let's start with the first use case that I want to demonstrate to you today. What we're going to do is we're going to build an application that is going to are going to upload or take a picture if it is on a mobile device, if it is a mobile application, on a passport, and we're going to use the OCI document understanding service, and that supports, and in particular, the key value extraction functionality that out of the box supports at least the following type of documents: invoices, receipts, driver licenses, and passports. So for our example, we're going to develop an application that is going to read a passport, understand the information that is inside the passport, and provide us this information, namely the passport number, the name of the holder, first and last name, its country, its nationality, its date of birth, its gender, and the expiration date. There are some prerequisites, of course, because before starting developing the application, you need to have permission to use Visual Builder. You need to have permission to use OCI object storage and our service OCI document understanding. You should have created previously a compartment, a bucket, and a bucket namespace. Also create an API key for you, for your user that is going to develop the application. And you need to save all of this information, namely the bucket name, the namespace, the bucket OCID, the tenancy OCID, the user OCID, the fingerprints, and the private key somewhere, because are going to be needed later on the development. So how you are going to develop an architecture this kind of application? Visual Builder is going to leverage and use the API libraries offered by OCI, and in particular from OCI document understanding service and from OCI object storage for the buckets. So first of all, the service, it's going to post, once the document is uploaded, it's going to post and put the document inside a bucket. Then it's going to call an API from a document understanding service that is will initiate a process job that is going to do the following. It's going to go and find on the place that we have specified, in our particular case, a bucket, the document that needs to be analyzed. Is going to retrieve this document, is going to perform the analysis, and it's going to write back the results of this analysis, namely the key value attributes that we have previously seen, into the bucket. And finally, the Visual Builder cloud service is going to access the result from the bucket that are on a JSON format and are going to display on the screen. So how we're going to succeed? We need to create an endpoint, a service connection for our object storage, and this service connection is going to have two endpoints. The first one is going to be used to put the files, and the second one to retrieve the results from the outcome of the OCI document understanding service. Then you're going to need another service endpoint that is going to initiate the process to create the processor job into the document understanding service that will actually analyze the document. And inside this endpoint, we're going to provide information such as what exactly we're going to ask from the service to do. Therefore, we're going to provide what is the feature type, which is a key value extraction, that we need to that the service will need to classify the document, and that the document is on the object storage, and where it is, and where it's going to put the service the results, again, into the object storage. Then we are going to create the visual interface, the UI, and along with this UI, we're going to create some variables inside our page. It's a one-page application that are going to be used to display the data into the UI, and also some to hold some configuration information that is needed. And once we have created our UI, you're going to develop our business logic, which is exactly what I have described you before. Send the document to the object storage, create the processor job to OCI document understanding, retrieve the outcome of the analysis from the bucket, and finally assign the values into the application, the variables, in order to start our implementation. Wait. So this is our environment of Visual Builder. Allow me now to start show you what actually we have done. I have prepared some things, so in order to save some time. The very first thing is that on the service connection, I have, first of all, my object storage, where I have assure the connectivity with my object storage service. And in order to do so, I have provided the instance URL, and also I have selected that the authenticator for the logged in user or the anonymous user is the same. It should be Oracle Cloud Infrastructure API, where I'm going to provide some data such as the demonstrating the CICD, the fingerprint, and the private key. Now, inside, as I said before, the object storage, I created two endpoints. The one that I'm going to put the document inside the packet, and the second one is going to retrieve the results. So let's see, first of all, the put.
Hey, John, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Your voice is breaking up. You would mind turning off your camera, and it might alleviate that just a tad, because I think I'm getting network issues from you as well. Perfect. Thanks, dude.
Thank you. Excuse me for that. Excuse me. I'm very sorry for that. So I do have my endpoint where I had my method, my put method. Again, for the request, I need to provide some additional parameters, where is the namespace, the bucket name, and the object storage. And I can absolutely test everything and have the response from my test into my application. Then I had my document understanding endpoint. So this is the service that I'm going to connect again, the URL for the region that I'm connected to. And also I'm going to use the OCI API signature for my connectivity. And to this extent, for the endpoint, I have only one point. It is a create endpoint, where I'm using the post method. And into the post method on the request, I have no parameters again. And I have tested previously, and I have got a response. And the response actually includes some information that is quite valuable for them. Next step is actually the job ID, and again the outcome of my work, which is actually has been a successful for this example outcome. Visual Builder, once he got the response, he created a structure, a type structure for a variable that actually can be used later on to extract the information. And finally, when everything is done correctly, then I can go back to my object storage endpoint and get the results. Again, now I'm using the method get, where I have to provide some path parameters, such as the namespace, the bucket name, of course, the job ID that I previously received from the answer of my creation job. I specify that the answer would be a JSON file, and I have tested before our presentation today, and I have got a response. And this is actually on the response on my example, the actual JSON file that the document understanding service sent back from my request. What he has done, it actually created a structure that contains all the information, all the key value pairs that are valuable for me. Also, what is a document type, in which confidence I got results, And what is interesting actually for my visual interface is that now I'm able to take out the value of each of these keys that I'm interested to. For instance, the name, the first name, the last name, and so forth. Also, I need to tell you that every AI service for all the known types, it will return exactly the same structure of data on the same position. And I'm referring, for instance, that the first name, it is only on the first position of my structure of the document fields. The last name, it is on the second position. The country is the third position, and so on and so forth. Again, by default, when I go to response, Visual Builder creates for me a type structure that I can use later on to extract information that is interesting for me. Now, I have previously created here my application. It is a one-page application, as you can see. The application contains, I have the values that I want to display to extract from my document. I have a place here that I'm going to display actually the image or the file that I'm going to upload. And of course, these are the variables that I have created to display this information. I have also some data that are need for configuration purposes, as you see before, such as the future type, the namespace that I'm going to need, the bucket name that is important. So I don't need every time to enter this information. And now let's start together implementing our last step, which is the business and the workflow that is going to be used to assure the communication between Visual Builder and the AI document understanding service. Just take some space. So I'm going to add a component that is called file picker. Just choose it from here. I'm going to add it on the screen. That's right. That's next to my document number. So it will actually be the component that's going to be used either to take a photo or to upload a file. I'm going to the properties of this component, and I'll just specify that it's a single file that I'm going to upload. And I'm going to create an event. And the event is going to be triggered when I'm going to select a file. The event automatically creates for me an action chain, which is called file picker. And this action chain is going to be triggered anytime that a file is going to be loaded. And this is inside where I'm going to implement all my communication and my business logic. So very first, I'm going to assign a variable from actions. And the variable is, I have created a variable called hold image that is going to take the entity that I'm going to upload, the file actually, and it's going to be used later on for have some attributes such as the type of the document, the picture, the PDF, for instance, its name, the URL to present it into the screen, and so on and so forth. And let's take this from the file that I have, I'm going to upload. That's great. And now I'm going to add just a code, a line of code that is going to allow me to populate a field that is called image URL. It's just a field, a variable that I created, a string variable that will contain the URL of the image, and it's only used to display the image on my iframe of my page. Then I'm going to now call a REST API, the first REST API. I'm going now to, as I told you before, send this file, put it into my object storage. I'm going to select my object storage. I'm going to select actually my service endpoint, which is a put, select. And now I have the input parameters that I need to provide, values. So I have the bucket name, which is the variable that I have previously configured to have the bucket name. I have the namespace. Again, the namespace is something that is known. And I have the object name, which actually the variable that just on which I allocated my image, and I just provide with the name .name. Great. So this is the input parameters, and the body as it is a put method, I'm going to provide him the variable that contains the image as a blob to the body. Now I'm going to specify what is a content type, and the content type, of course, depends on the type of my object that I have uploaded. Therefore, again, I'm going to take the variable that I have defined and specify that I'm going to take the type of this document, be a PNG file, JPEG, a PDF, and this is the type. And the result, I'm going to provide a variable that is much more understandable, the name of a variable to store the results, and the results will have this name, let's say, upload file results. Now I'm going to check if everything was okay, and if not, I'm going to fire a notification. So I'm going to add to create an error handler, and I'm going to fire a notification if the upload of my file result was not okay. And therefore, I'm going to provide information inside. First of all, I'm going to give a summary, and the summary will be the body of my return information. I'm going to give the code, the error code. Again, in the beginning, I'm going to write down that is file upload failed with code, and display the code if it is the case. And as a message, I'm going to provide, again, from a entity, from a response back, the message that I've got. Now, if it is successful, then, I mean, if I successfully store my object inside my bucket, then I'm going to now go and call the create processor job of my document understanding service. Again, I'm going to call a REST here. I'm going to select my service, document AI service, job, select. Again, now I have to assign, there's no input parameters, but on the body, I'm going to, as I saw you on the presentation before, I'm going to provide, excuse me, I'm going to provide information on what type of process I want to instantiate, and where is the object storage that I'm going to use for the input and output for the process. So I just have prepared this in advance. So let me show you again one more time. So I have the variables for the processor type, for the feature type, which is key value extraction. Again, feature type 2, it is the document classification. Understand that's a passport. And I'm specifying where is the input location. That is, the source type is an object storage location, and I'm providing with my variables the bucket name, namespace, object name, and the same goes for the output location. Save this, and again, I'm providing now a name that is a little bit more, let's say, easy to understand, and the name is create document processor job result. Again, I'm going to verify that everything, once this call, the call to this REST API has been executed, that everything went well. So I'm going to fire notification if there is an error. So again, on the same approach, if it was an error, then I'm going to again provide a similar information based on the outcome. So I have the body, I have the code. That's interesting for me. And again, on the beginning, I'm going to say that I need, this is the create processor job error. And the message name again goes for the message that has been returned back from the service. Save. Now, if everything is okay, the only thing that I left for me to do is go and retrieve the information back from the service, document understanding service. So again, I'm going to call the REST API. And at that point, I'm going to use the object storage, and I'm going to get the result back. Okay, and now again, for my result, I have input variables. I just have prepared in advance the mapping for my input variables, which is the backend name, the file name, the job ID, and so on and so forth. All the information, it is known for me. It has been stored inside parameters. As you can see now, I have everything in place. And finally, the result I will store the result in a name that is more, let's say, understandable for me. And this is almost everything that I need to do. Of course, I can always have an error now if something went wrong. So I do have the fire notification if this call request was failed. Again, with as we do all the time with the error code. So again, cannot retrieve results with error code. Again, I do have my error code and the message. It is as we done before. I provide the message attribute. And finally, if it's not the case, then I'm able to now populate the values of my screen with the outcome of my information. So I'm going to use the assign variable, and as in the UI, I have 9 variables I want to assign. Then I'm going to use this action 9 times, exactly on the same place. Hopefully it's not yet, but we will see. So let me go. The first one, it is the first name that I want to populate. And again, the information now, it is stored inside the body, inside the pages, item, document fields, and I have my field value and the value of my information. And this I'm going to drag and drop here. So it is exactly on the same place into my structure that all the values that I have extracted are located. The only thing that is changed, and it is the same for all this type of documents that we are assessing, it is the position into my document field structure. So the first position was the first name, the second position was the last name, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do exactly the same. I just copy the path to my variable, and now I'm going to do exactly the same thing for all of my variables. So the next is the last name. Again, the last name, I'm going to paste the path to my variable, but the only thing that I'm going to change now, it is the position into my array. It is the second position. Again, now I'm going to see the country. Excuse me, second position. 2. Now it is the nationality. Now also in position 4. Again, I have the birth date. Again, now is a position 5. We do have now I think now it's expiration date. Yes, expiration date. Again, expiration date is on position 6. And now I do have my gender. Again, gender is position 7. I have the document type. That's a passport. Position 8. And finally, it is the document number, which is in position 9. Great. And this is enough. Now I'm going to run my application. Here is my application, and I'm going to select a sample passport. This passport is displayed on the screen, and the information has been stored inside document understanding, treated by document understanding, stored inside business object, our bucket, and retrieve the information from our bucket. And if I want to just go and check our bucket, again, you're going to see into my storage area, my buckets. I have my Visual Builder, my VBCS bucket that I have described before, and here it is. The file that I have uploaded and the results that are inside my bucket, and they are into a JSON format. So hopefully this was enlightening for you to understand how this kind of application can be implemented. As an example, so as you know, the application can be also enabled as a progressive web app, which means that the application can go inside a mobile device and can be looked like that. It's very, very interesting because you can even use the camera of your mobile device and take the picture ad hoc. So that was the first use case. The second use case, I will not show you currently how to implement it, but just you need to know that document understanding service can also treat custom documents. So you can create your own model by training the service, providing specific documents and searching for specific key value pairs. For this example, I take an insurance policy, I train I create a model, I trained with different insurance policies, and I was interested to particular fields, key values inside my document, and I have followed exactly the same process. The only difference with before was just, instead of doing all this logic inside Visual Builder, I adopted and used Oracle Integration Cloud, which is our integration platform. And Oracle Integration Cloud was in charge of connecting with OCI document understanding, send, of course, the data from the Visual Builder application, the data to the document understanding, make any other orchestration with any other REST APIs that needs to be called, for instance, the object storage or any other services that might be needed, and resend one response back to the Visual Builder. The main difference between the previous example is that instead of having two endpoints, I only have one endpoint, and this is the endpoint that goes towards my integration cloud, and specifically the integration that I have created that support this orchestration of messages. And the same approach, I have a UI, I have my variables on the page. I'm going to present the document that I'm going to upload. And the major difference between the previous example is that now where I'm going to implement my business logic, I can do two things on parallel. I will let all the orchestration job and communication with the document understanding service and my bucket to the integration cloud, and I am going to receive only one response, only one JSON file, and I have the time for the same effort to update and change the way that I'm presenting my output file, because the information I'm receiving back also gives me the coordinates of the fields, of the key fields, the pairs of the key values that are interesting for me inside the document. Therefore, I can even at the end present the document on the end user, and even draw, for instance, rectangles or highlight things inside the document for him to better understand where was the information that has been extracted. Of course, the model has been created based on, for this particular example, based on known information. I knew what was the key value that is interesting for me and what was the information that I wanted to extract. And to conclude with my presentation, there's different use cases that you can all exactly the same approach that I have described to you, you can do. And these use cases actually can interact with OCI digital assistant to integrate chatbot into a visual application, transcribe customer interaction from speech to text if you connect with OCI speech, automate business document processing with OCI vision, understanding what is a document and extract information, extract tables, pictures, and so on and so forth. Use OCI anomaly detection for many things, for instance, to track insurance policy claims with anomaly detection if everything that has been requested under insurance policy is correct. And finally, you can even use OCI language to identify, for instance, key players from customer feedback. For instance, what a customer say to you, who is your customer, and how to find it much more easily. That was for me. Thank you very much. Hopefully it was very interesting to you.
In a bit. And to get a copy of the PDF, if anybody wants it. If you can't join us in Slack, just email us and Violet and myself will respond and send you a copy. That's it.
All right. All right. With that, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Sofia, John, for presenting. Thank you, Jordi, Jesus, Ettore, Tom, for all the help today. We hope to see you soon again. We hope you enjoyed the session and, of course, enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye. Take care.